Hello again, whiskey friends. It's Kelsey again back here in the Whiskey Riff Lounge. Shelfer versus store pick. Now, this is a topic that we've all kind of talked about before. I don't know that we've actually done some comparisons recently about these. So I'm going to do two separate videos, one on one brand and one on another, to start this series out. And let's see if we can kind of keep this going throughout the year and see how it progresses. But I know some of you are like, should I buy the shelfer? Should I get a store pick? What's the advantages of both? We'll kind of get into that as we go along, but let's get started and find out what we're tasting today. All right. Welcome back, guys and gals. Today we're going to be doing a start of a series called Shelfer versus Store Pick, where I'm going to be discussing about the differences between the two, some brands that have some notoriety as far as already having a shelf version versus a store pick version of it, and then walking through the differences between those two. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit like and subscribe, and also put down what's your favorite store pick versus shelfer. Do you prefer one over the other? Today, we're going to be doing some Jim Beam. We're going to be doing Knob Creek single barrel pick. Now, this one is a little unfair because this one is the one that pretty much beat everything that we had last year, but it's the only two that I have. So I've got that Beam Tack pick, which is 120 proof, and then I also have the Knob Creek 9-year 100 proof. But I do think that the 9-year will hold up a little bit better than people think that it will. It was surprising to me. So we're going to go with the shelfer version first, which I believe is this one, and talk about it. I'm just smelling both of these real fast. Okay. All right. So shelfer versus store pick. So many of you have many different brands that you like. I think of Eagle Rare. I think of Weller Full Proof. I think of Knob Creek. Those are some of the brands that we're going to kind of be talking about. And here again, it's single barrel versus a blend. Again, it's going to be hit and miss. Some are going to be really, really good, and some can be really, really bad. It just depends. Now, this particular store pick is from California, from Dram Code. Big Vic, thank you. Shout out to you for getting me this bottle. And then the Knob Creek 9-year that I've got here, which is just, we did this blend off thing a little while ago, and I had to get a bottle of it. And this first one I've had in, gosh, probably 2 years. So we'll start with the 100 proofer and move up. Now on the nose, it's a little bit lighter. More like honey roasted peanuts, just a little bit, but more caramel and baking spices forward. Man, this is your typical bean profile. I'm not usually a bean profile person. For those that are, this is probably one of your favorites that you can get all the time. And they've been getting better and better as far as the shelfers are concerned lately. Boy, that's easy to drink. So on the nose, typical baking spices, vanillas. With Beam, for me, there's always something that on the finish that, like, I can't put my finger on. It almost seems like a particular chemical that I get off of their finish that turns me off. And it almost smells like if you were in a plastic factory. It's almost that new plastic kind of smell to it. And it's a little bit on the nose on this thing, but it's definitely on the palate. There's something artificial that comes across to me that has always been a turnoff, even though I kind of appreciate what it is. It's not something that I normally go to all the time as an offering, but I will say this is super easy to drink. It comes across as your typical bourbon notes, but for a 9-year offering, age-stated product, it's a really great value. Second sip, much better even. The peanut note's still there. Sometimes that's a turn off for some people, but for this, it's a really slight peanut note, and it's more of the honey roasted type of a peanut. But when you get past the oak, for me, there is a chemical component going on. I don't know if it's some of the esters, the way that it comes across, or anything like that, but something funny is going on in the finish, and I don't know what it is. I couldn't put my finger on it. So we're going to go to the single barrel that is been wrecking blinds for a while. Now this one is full of rich cherries and fruits. I do not get that peanut note at all on this particular single barrel. It's probably why I like it so much. I do not get that artificial flavor of plastic in the nose at all. Let's get into the palate. That 20 proof points make a big difference too. I will say that. But overall, man, the fruit punch type of feeling. I don't mean fruit punch like as in the drink, but like fruit dash punch, a punch of fruit. Really is impressive on this one. It reminds me more of like the older aged bean products, like the 15 year that they've released. It's kind of off profile, to be honest with you, what Knob Creek is on this particular one. And that's one of the things that you can always count on sometimes is it being a little bit, it's going to be one of two things. It's going to be on profile with their shelfer, but turned up a notch, or it's going to be off profile with the shelfer and turned up a bunch on different areas that make this whiskey shine. This isn't a perfect example of what I'm talking about, the difference of how a single barrel from the same distillery can be miles apart from the shelfer product, even though that both are really, really good. And for the value, I mean, Knob Creek has always been up there as far as the age stated value versus what you get. So let's go in for a second sip. Yeah. This one hits it's more viscous. It's more mouth coating, but it all hits mid palate and finish for me on this one. Finish is super long. It's oily, whereas this one's pretty thin. It's great. It's easy drinking. It has wonderful flavors to it, but it just obviously is not going to stand up to this. I knew that going in, but I wanted to kind of show you an example of a store pick versus a shelfer. The next one that I will be doing, which is Eagle Rare store pick versus regular. We'll probably do Buffalo Trace, regular shelfer versus store pick. And if I can find a Weller, just a regular Weller, I do have a store pick of it. We'll do that as well. But if there's some other picks versus shelfers that you guys want to see reviews of, make sure you put that in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. I'm sorry I don't say that enough on my videos, but man, I love to have feedback from you guys. I really appreciate any type of feedback that you have on the channel, things you want to see, things you like, different bottles that you might want to see reviewed that we're not already doing, or a battle that you want to see go up, a bottle versus another bottle going up. We all kind of have a diverse palate, and maybe we could do what Jason does where we just compare things, but we do it in all three of us doing it at the same time and kind of seeing where that goes. That's another idea we can do. But for today, shelfer versus store pick is not even close. I knew that going in, but it does show you the difference between a single barrel offering from one distillery and the shelfer blend offering and the differences that can occur. And that's kind of what I wanted to highlight. Now, would I drink both of these all the time? 100%. Even though I don't prefer Beam, these are both really, really good offerings. Obviously, the 120 is going to stand out for me, just this particular store pick, because of how much more rich and dense and complex it is versus the shelfer. Even though the shelfer has a great nose, it's typical bourbon nose, has a great palate. Typical bourbon palate, super easy to drink, super approachable. And I think that's one thing that you can say about Knob Creek versus a lot of other things is that Knob Creek does a great job of creating consistency, but also creating a whiskey that is approachable for a new person that's getting into whiskey versus somebody who's been in whiskey for a while. It can provide that bandwidth within that whiskey. So, all right, guys, that's just a quick review on this particular series that we're doing. Make sure you guys check us out every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern for some more live blind flights, but also just we've got some picks coming up. If you guys aren't joined our Patreon, make sure you get into grab some of those. We've got some fun things coming up, and we'll see you right here in the Whiskey Riff Lounge next time.
Jeff, just be friends with me, but you have these whiskey friends, and you say hello again. Oh, Jeffrey, you should just be friends with me, but you have these whiskey friends, and you say hello again. Oh, Jeffrey, you should just be friends with me, but you have these whiskey